group members are me, Minsaf, and Amal, and Dhanush, and we have implemented the agriculture sensor system, and it was implemented according to the design given by the group B. First of all, this is our interface for the login page. First of all, I'll log in. There are four major functions. First function is the login and user registration, and the second one is the current display window, current data display window, and the third one is sensors, adding sensors, and finally automate system. First of all, I'll explain the sensor creation function. Here there are fields to add the sensor ID, and we can choose the sensor type. There are 8 sensor types we have added, and the sensor name. When we add it
in here, now for this one, why did you let that person to enter sensor ID rather than person to select the sensor ID or something? Why do you
there are so many types of sensors, like so many different types of sensors. So now we don't know, like
when we buy a sensor, it has a unique, it has an ID in the product. So we are adding that.
So simply what you can do here is you can select the sensor ID. Automatically type should be get selected at the time when you are going to select the ID or something like that.
So ID is changed now from product. So to select that, we should already add it to the system.
Product type I went now. This ID in the sense you are going to maintain it for this flexibility of your system, right? You are going to maintain it. There is a separate sensor for the system. Specifically, you use separate ID, right? It's created not specific to product, right? For this, right? Okay. So,
yeah, it is sensor. And for the sensor creation, we have used factory pattern. To explain that,
let's discuss the patterns and things later. First, explain the scenario, how it's going to work, right?
And then I'm going to explain the current data display. Here, all the current data from the sensors are displayed here. Let's say to start reading, we click this button, and it starts reading, and automatically the data are displayed there. I mean, to demonstration purpose, I have showed a temperature to get the current data per second. So every second it gets the data.
So time interval second.
Yeah.
Second.
It should be 1 minute. To demonstration purpose, I set it to 1 second. Changes and we can stop it.
How about the humidity and illuminations and those things? Did you consider about the time intervals and stuff? How would be
humidity every minute, and
humidity or something like it wouldn't fluctuate within every minute, right? Per day it would be like as it is sometimes. Do you consider what's the purpose of having a thing?
Maybe customized system.
You can customize the time intervals, right?
I think I have it. Shall I look at the code?
No. Code was at the end. We are going to show. Let's see the code, right?
And the illuminance and lux and precipitation in millimeters, barometric pressure in ATM, and soil monitoring, temperature, moisture content, and soil acidity. And
so here we are going to display separate different sensor outcomes, right? Precipitations and all these things, barometric and soil acidity and those things are all these.
Soil monitoring. Okay. And our final function is the automated system. We have the automated watering system for that. We can add the watering system in this form. and when we add it, we can add crop name and the soil moisture content, and it will be shown in here, and it checks whether the minimum soil moisture content, and it compares with the current moisture content, and if the current moisture content is less than minimum, the automated watering system will be turned on to show the tile data. Now it's off since the minimum is less than the current moisture content. I'll let's say 90 minimum. It will be on. That's it, sir. And the login sorry.
According to sequence, how many functionalities did you implement according to your sequence diagrams and stuff?
Three major functions.
Three
One
Three
is
major functions.
displaying the data.
Mm.
Second one is the sensor adding
Sensor specific functionalities.
Then
And the
the
automated system.
automated system.
And the user registration and login.
Yeah.
Those were the
Uh,
diagrams given to us.
For the user registration,
Whatever the diagrams, like
Diagrams.
according to design diagrams, you
user registration forms.
okay. User registration, you had to enter the name. Occupation, why didn't you do any drop down or something for that?
Depends on equipment. You don't know
Did you
what-
validate email address, phone numbers here? So simply if you enter something like
Yes,
without having a character,
We have a validation class implementers.
Yeah,
can you
validation.
show us enter it in and
For the name, if we keep it blank, it says please fill all the fields,
okay.
and for the name field it should be letters. So if we add colon or something,
Enter invalid email address without having a characters or something. Yeah, remove add character and enter. Does it consider the mismatch of passwords
Yes.
and password things?
yes,
Can you have spaces in between username?
Why it is successfully added user? It should be validation error you have popped out, right? For the email.
Email
address.
validation is there. And phone validations also, I mean, just you're entering an integers.
Phone validation you have to check whether the 10 digits are there, right? Phone validations and stuff. How about the validation in other UIs? Did you consider this?
yes.
Here nothing to validate. And since ID something.
If you keep it blank, fields cannot be empty. Please fill.
No, in addition to blank, didn't you consider like whatever they entering invalid characters for sense ID like hash or something like that? Those characters are going to validate it.
We did valid for
Only
the
strings
for
can be
the
entered.
strings. It can only be letters, and if it's
If you are going to enter digit or something for this, rather than string something else, another special character, if you are going to enter, how will it validate?
No special characters.
special
Action.
characters can't be letters.
Okay. You avoid it, right, from the first place. In addition to that, what are the other functionalities mentioned?
Automated system,
Automated system, what was
watering system.
the watering system?
It checks the
Soil moisture
soil
content.
moisture content.
If it's less than the user given
The
value,
sequence diagrams are only, now this is also similar to whatever the sensor specific scenario, right? There should be another sequence diagram for whatever other functionalities. So they mention only these things, right?
yeah, one is viewing the data, other one is automated system, the third one is registration. Login type.
Now for this one, registration is okay, registration should be there, but it is not the major business functionality you are going to reflect related to this particular aspect, right? So you have to have something else. Now in the agriculture sensor system, you can enter sensors. Okay, the sensor specific manipulations are fine. Now, how about you are going to display things to a dashboard regarding whatever the outcomes, right? So how are you going to show those things, like whatever the environmental aspects you are going to show is that for the farm, something like that. Also, how about the productivity? So how that you are going to store crops and stuff, right? So those things you have to mention at least. You have to have like a stocks regarding whatever the crops and stuff, right?
Their SQL system consisted not the automated system to do a task. It's the automated system function, and the rainfall sensor reads values, and that is the current data.
You only consider those aspects, right?
Yes.
This is fine, but this is like now when we consider rainfall sensors and sensors, these are like similar functionalities you are going to do, but there are different other functionalities you can focus, right, in here. Rather than doing registration is fine, but for this one it's no point.
Registration is not an important
Important
aspect in your
aspect, yeah.
domain. So in any application you should have those functionalities looking at registration. Here what we are expecting is you need to have functionalities depending on the domain.
Yes.
Otherwise,
So it's like you have to show us the dashboard. At least there are different users are going to see that how the system is going to get the data regarding the sensors, how we are going to similarly display it, right, in different using different artifacts like charts and stuff. So those things should be there here. It's okay for the design, they only provide those things, but for your critical reflection report, you can mention these are the new features that you added since in order to representation perspective. Right? Okay. Let's see the source code. Right?
First of all, I'll explain the sensor creation function. We have used factory pattern. This is the diagram for that. There's a abstract sensor creator abstract class. It has the
Is this simple factory, method factory, or abstract factory?
simple factory.
Simple factory. Okay.
And it has a method called order sensor, and create sensor is the factory method. It's an abstract method, and it is implemented in the all the subclasses, which extends the creator abstract sensor creator class. And this is the sensor creator class. This is the factory method, and the product class is the sensor, and it's an abstract class. This is the concrete product class. There are 8 classes. I have displayed only one here. And the
Can you show us the implementation? How did we implement the factory pattern in source code?
this is the abstract sensor creator, the creator abstract class. Here order sensor is there. Inside that the create sensor, which is the factory method.
Now
is
for
called.
this one, it's not. Now for this one, you are going to order sensor, you are going to assign sensor specific details, read from the UI. For that one, you have to have a separate model class or whatever the object class rather than.
There is object class
Yeah.
also.
Yes,
That's
object
what
class.
sensor
Object
class,
class,
yes.
sensor class is there.
Sensor
Create sensor, go to that method, implemented method for the create sensor.
Sensor creator class.
implement
Yeah, implementation. Show us the implementation of create sensor method.
create sensor method. This is the factory method we have used. Create sensor. There we provide the type, the sensor type, sensor ID, and the sensor name. So it creates the
So
sensor.
here,
according-
why did you create new, each and every request you are going to create new sensors? So why didn't you add that singleton pattern when you are going to create the sensor, get instance or something like from there onwards? Otherwise, for each and
So
every
that
request
is
it comes for the type.
serialization process.
Serialization is fine. It's a different process. I am asking for the implementation for this one rather than using new air template sensor, you have to have one sensor implementation, right? There may have separate sensors. Initially you have one sensor, you may have separate sensors, but sensors should be created according to, now it should maintain only one sensor object throughout the context. If the object is not there, only you are going to create, rather than creating different objects for this one. See what will happen if you use return new air temperature sensor for this one, right? For each and every request it comes for the sensor creator, it will be a new objects.
So we need new objects.
Yeah. No, not really. Now here you are going to,
Yeah.
you have to maintain only one object throughout the context. Even again you are going to create the new create sensor, you have to check whether this object exists by using cigarette or something.
So we can create more than one sensors in one type.
What's the purpose?
So here the type is there, sir. It sees the type, and if the type, only if the type matches, it creates the new object instance out of it. And once it's created, it's serialized. The data which we enter is serialized into a sensor class. Yeah, that object is serialized and stored, and from here it comes 0. Then again
We
it's
refer to that design patterns that
dummies.
Go down. Else what will happen?
here is written now.
If no type is mentioned, it will return a null object.
We refer to the book.
This is method factory, right? Not abstract factory.
Yes.
And this is the sensor creator, and there are product classes for the.
For creating purpose, you don't need to enter. Once you
This is
enter
the-
sensor ID, now in this design, these are the things that you should consider. Once you create sensor, right, you have to have only sensor ID. But in the sensor class, you should determine, okay, if this sensor ID or something start with whatever specific name or something, it should identify this is this type of sensor. So automatically, in there you have to add.
So
That's how this works. The creator method, that's how it works. Once you select a type,
No need to pass the sensor name again. In your parameters, why did you pass name there? Only just a matter of passing a sensor ID or something.
ID and types, we are
Yeah.
passing type.
creator.
Or else you can pass sensor name. You want this sensor. What is the sensor? Okay, soil acidity
That's
sensor.
how we are doing, sir.
So we use these sensors to that there are some.
No. In your parameter, when you are going to pass, you are going to pass sensor ID, sensor name, set of
Sensor
things.
type.
Yeah.
Sensor ID.
Sensor type.
Sensor ID is a normal ID, sir. Sensor type only decides whether it's the air temperature sensor, moisture sensor, and also. Then sensor name, like for location based, like
Sensor type is the only thing you want,
that
right?
determines.
Okay. Then in your application, when you use the create sensor method, you have to pass
We-
the sensor type only.
We get the sensor type here in the abstract class.
Create.
In the
Yeah.
model sensor,
Okay.
We are getting the type first.
from that type we are creating the sensor.
Sensor creator.
No, for the sensor creator, I am telling
Yes, sir. We are getting the types.
only type is enough. Inside the sensor should add whatever the name and whatever the ID is. That's only internal specific things. For the outside, now when you are going to create sensor type, this is the sensor I want to create by passing a sensor type. Then you are going to create the sensor. When it's going to create the sensor, in the sensor class you should mention, okay, what is the sensor name and ID.
But
That is specific to the sensor, not for the creator.
we have to hard code.
Not hard coded. So first you have to check the serialized data. Use when you are going to deserialize, you have to add new sensor ID or something. So is it, how does it that you are going to implement? There is a specific sensor ID you are going to generate by implementing a value or something, or you are going to append something else for the generating sensor ID.
Use as the
Sensor ID.
User should add the sensor ID.
Yes.
Then you have to enter the sensor ID as well from the beginning.
Sensor ID, sensor name, both
They are
is
different, not one.
dependent on based on user to user, it's different. So we add a
When
user.
that user is going to assign particular sensors for a particular field, is there any something like that? these sensors are for these fields. This is the sensor entering part. Now you can assign sensors. Let's say tomorrow I am going to use that sensor in a different location, something in order to get the outputs or something, right? I have to have a separate mapping details, which location this sensor fits or something. Did you consider this?
We didn't have the location.
Then we consider like
Only
when we
the
refer to
Neither one field station or there.
One field
One
station.
field station.
no sir, like one field, one type of sensor. Like when we check the data and all, like they said, like for a small particular acre of land, like one sensor is enough, one or two.
One crop. And
Then for per crop, per
Is
field,
that a one sensor or one type of sensor?
one type of sensor. Sir. Like air temperature sensor means one air temperature sensor. Soil moisture temperature, one soil layer type.
And there is another thing when you implement. So here we are going to check the coding standards and stuff. So rather than hard coding these sensor details, you have to have a separate constants you have to maintain. So you have to have public static final strings, right? So those are best practices you have to consider.
this is since
How did you add comments or method level comments? I
So
told,
we
right?
added Java style
Java.
comments.
Okay.
and there is the sensor abstract class here. This is the sensor class, and all the sensor types are extending this class, and these are the attributes, and there is a function method to set latest reading.
We
We have
used
used
a separate thread,
threads.
right?
Yes. For every sensor, we have used a separate thread.
How
There's
did
a
you start executing this particular thread? Where did you implement that method?
it's in every
Read,
sensor.
when you read the
There's a method. We are overriding the run method in the runnable class, and
so
we are
it's
creating
better
a
when
random.
you use this now. There are some places like latest reading method from you should enter something like a single line comment or something. It would be better for inside the method, right? Otherwise, the user
We have
can
used
grab some kind of
System
idea.
out. We have
No,
displayed
not system out.
Comments.
Comments.
We have
comments.
put all the comments in the this.
No. That is just a method level comment. What's the purpose of having this particular method? But internally, method might use different logics, right? You are going to implement. Now, these logics might not clear enough for the user. So you have to explain what's the purpose of having this logic. So if you are going to do some kind of calculation or something, you have to have that. So then user can easily understand, whoever the person is going to modify this application, who can grab the idea rather than reading the source code by reading the logic.
Here we are creating
Now
a
for this
random-
one, don't use public void run is fine, right? I am not telling it's bad. You have to have a public void run method. That's something technical. You have to have one method there. So inside the run method, you have to have another method specifying related to this business logic implementation. So here what you are going to do, read the sensors, right?
Yeah, time to time it will
Yeah, okay. Then you have to have a
here
reading
we are generating sensor data.
generating sensor data. Then you have to have a method called generate sensor data, and you have to split, remove this code to that particular method, invoke that method invocation inside the public void run method, right? Then the thread will then it's more. Now here run is fine. Now what?
So we can't have a common method because the type of the value we are generating is different from sensor to sensor. Sir.
It's fine.
Like
Yeah,
a common method means we have to
Since
set
there's
the-
only function, we added the code.
Yeah, you can argue in that manner, but what you should really do is, right, you have to have public void run that is for invoking which method. Sometimes in future you can change whatever the method. So this is public void run, you can't change in a particular aspect, right? You have to have a separate generate sensor data or something, another method. You have to split, you have to remove this code from here on, from here to whatever the implemented method is, so you have to invoke, right? Straight away you can call that method
To
from here.
generate sensor data, we have used
Sensor class.
we have started the thread in the abstract class. So
That's fine, no issue. You can start it in the abstract class, that's fine. So what I am telling is, inside the run method, what will happen if you implement old logic, that method should have valid business name or something, right? Rather than using a run. Then what you can do is, you have to have a separate method specified, and you have to invoke it inside the run.
there's a specific method for the that get source. It's in the set of sensors. Right? Okay, set of sensors. Here's we have used the iterator pattern in that generate sensor data. Here we go through all the sensor objects and starts this method. Set latest reading method. We started. We have used iterator pattern here. Java util iterator.
That is not your own implementation. By default, since you are using the iterator class, it will provide. That means you can claim you implement a design pattern,
Yes.
you really implement iterator
Here
specific.
we have implemented two.
Yeah, you implemented method factory.
There are three. Two we have implemented.
Didn't
and
you
this
use
is-
singleton or something
Yes,
creating?
server.
Server.
Why did you use singleton for the sensor implementation? Sensors, when you are going to create sensors, why didn't you use singleton or something like that? For when you are going to create a sensor, right? You can implement singleton, something like that, singleton pattern. Otherwise, for each request creating a sensor, you can maintain only one sensor.
So we can create more than one sensor. One
Type of
Yeah.
sensor.
one type.
One type more than one
Yes,
sensor.
that's why we use something.
Based on the demand. Okay.
And we have used singleton pattern in the server.
How did you implement the singleton?
We eagerly create the server instance and just returns it in the get instance method. We create here.
It's not thread safe, right? Okay.
It's thread safe, sir, because it's already one is already created.
No. In thread safe, in a sense, different threads are going to invoke same.
Yes,
there
it's
should be-
just returning the instance.
Yeah, it means
So
return instance
only
for two
one-
threads.
So we can-
Two threads it will return instances separately. What will
So
happen?
we have created only one instance. Yes.
Yeah, here you can create one instance.
Yes.
At runtime, what will happen when it's going to execute, invoking two threads? Why you are going to use thread dot start, another thread 2 dot start. Okay. At that time, when those two threads are going to create objects 2 times, now it's not going to check here, right? There's no any restriction. Understood what I am saying? So you have to have a synchronized block and something like that. Then you have to have a
No, sir. In all the threads, it can access this.
you have to say, you have to go fact check, right? Invoking separate threads. and
We refer to that design patterns that ebook you have recommended.
maybe now in
It
this
was-
code by looking at I can tell, right? Many threads are going to. Did you understand it? Now when many threads are going to invoke, right?
Yes.
It will create separate objects, threads. For even when you are going to use singleton, within the if condition, let's say you specify instance equal null only. you are going
It's
to
static method, sir. So when invoking this method, it uses the class name, so capital S,
Yeah.
and so it won't create a new object, sir. It's a static since it's static method. Only
Yeah.
one method, say, for all the
Then you have to have a
Yes.
public static file. Okay, not you are not going to assign it in somewhere else. But even though static is different only when we are going to load it. If it is a static method, you are going to load that into a class. That's the separate scenario.
When we invoke this method, we have used the class name. So
Yeah,
it won't
you don't need to create sensor dot sensor equal new sensor. Since it's a static, you can use sensor dot get instance or
get
something, right?
gets.
Yeah. So what will happen?
Same
Two
class
threads
also.
are going to two threads are going to use and the simultaneously it's going to
Get the
get
same
sensor.
instance.
Not same instance. For the thread scenario is different. In this scenario, it will call one sensor object, sensor, because what even is a static, right? Here, what will happen? Static server equal new server. Understood? Get instance will return whatever object at the first place you assign here in the class level. Again, when you are going to invoke, now thread scenario is different. Threads simultaneously, we don't know at which time the thread is going to create these new servers. There may have two server instances, right? Two threads are going to create. Go and check adding a threads, right? Okay. What are other things
But so it was said that it's thread safe in the EU design pattern. That's why we used like this. Otherwise, we would have used the synchronized that keyword.
Then there should be another thing called volatile.
It's a recommended group.
Now is the design
No,
pattern.
design pattern with Java.
Did they mention thread safe?
Yes, I
We
can show
use
it.
thread safe. How come that static? Even though the design pattern book they mentioned there is thread safe, we have to really create thread and we have to find. Okay, no need to see it now. Show us the UI. Did you generate Java documentation for this?
Yes.
Show us. You use version control, what's the GitHub, right?
Yes.
Did you run the test cases for this? Documentation. Okay, fine. You use GitHub, right? How many design patterns did you implement for this one?
So if you consider iterator also, it's like three.
Okay. Singleton is there.
Single
Factory method.
Right.
Show us the. So